Welcome to Your Gray Matters, the podcast that unveils the miracles already amongst us. Here, we believe that the human mind cannot be defeated. Tune in to discover the fascinating people with extraordinary stories, innovative products, and groundbreaking services. With your host, Neil Silvert, who's earned his gray hair and still has use of his gray matter.
Hi, everybody. I'm Neil from the Your Gray Matters podcast. Welcome back. We hope that you had a great week, and we are incredibly excited today. We have Steve Suske with us. Hi, Steve. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Neil. How are you?
Really glad to have you. I'm great. Hey, folks, no glasses, cataract surgery this week. That will be a separate episode, but the timing's good because we're talking about housing for seniors, the families of seniors, boomers today. And we have who I think is probably the best expert, the most knowledgeable man I've ever met in the industry. And he's also quite a gentleman. So I'm honored to have you on, Steve. And folks, let me tell you about Steve Suske, S-U-S-K-E. He's the president and CEO of Suske Capital, Inc., which is his company. And it's a private equity firm. It's based in Oakville, Ontario. And they're focused on investing in real estate, finance, emerging technologies, alternative energy, and healthcare. Steve himself has been an entrepreneur for over 40 years, and he has professional experience in developing and managing businesses. He's overseen, led, and advised over $5 billion in business transactions, and that is amazing. And he is known as the leading authority in North America's seniors housing. That is the sector that I want to talk about today. Steve founded Chartwell Retirement Residences, which is a cornerstone of seniors housing. As a founder of Spectrum Seniors Housing Development Corporation, Steve oversaw the development of over 60 seniors residences in just a 10-year period. And I know something that's very near and dear to Steve's heart and very impressive. Steve actually graduated with an MBA in 1977 from the Richard Ivey School of Business. And he maintains really close ties with that business school. That is a huge accomplishment. In fact, my own cousin just got into that school, Steve. We're quite excited.
Congratulations.
And he's acted as...
I could never have got into the school now.
I never got into any school with it. That's a different topic. He's acted as an entrepreneur in residence since 2009 and as a member of Western Entrepreneurship Advisory Board. So, of course, the school is at Western University in London. In 2017, he was actually honored with the Ivy Distinguished Service Award, which is an award for alumni who have provided extraordinary service to the Ivy Business School over an extended period of time. And in 2018, Ivy Business School announced the establishment of the Stephen Suske Ivy New Venture Project Award and Stephen Suske Entrepreneurs in Residence Program. Such accomplishments. Steve, welcome to the Your Gray Matters podcast. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me, Neil.
Yeah, we're really excited. So tell us, how the heck did you get involved in seniors housing? What inspired you to do this, Steve?
And that's quite a story, but I should tell you that before my MBA, I went to King's College in London and got a BA in philosophy.
Philosophy.
And so that's an interesting combination of MBA and philosophy.
It certainly is.
And I really felt when I finally got in the senior housing business that it was the right move because we're looking after people's moms and dads beyond their expectation. But senior housing is also a business, so it was to me a great melding of my philosophies, my personal philosophies, etc.
Certainly makes sense.
I was in the real estate. I was a real estate investment banker, and my client came to me with a project to be financed in Mississauga. Air Mills Lodge, still going, and we put together an interesting deal. The the owners of that were having a World War III, and I went in there, settled all the lawsuits, and got everybody's release. And we put CMHC financing on there for 10,750,000, and we put $500,000 in our jeans and $500,000 into the project. And I was in the senior housing business and
Wow.
have been ever since. So that was a good thing. But so I really, then I really realized that senior housing was very, very capital intensive. And that in order to do that, to raise the money to grow, we had to start a public company. So I put together Chartwell. Was it called Chartwell? It wasn't called it was called Chartwell Retirement Residence. That's what it's called now, but it's called Chartwell Senior Housing before. And we put that REIT together 20 years ago. I just went back there as the founder. Their 20-year anniversary. That was nice to go back and see
Congratulations.
how
Wow.
they've grown the business. So we did that to attract capital. So it was the first senior housing public company in Canada. And it was a $240 million raise. We were 5 or 6 times oversubscribed, and it's been a success. I still have very, very good contacts with Chartwell. As a matter of fact, we've sold many projects that we've built to Chartwell. I actually have 4 projects right now that we're in the final stage of negotiating with Chartwell. So they're a great company, and we're very, very aligned with them. So getting back to it, so I got very, very comfortable with the philosophy of what we're doing. As I said before, looking after people's moms and dads beyond their expectation. And that really became clear to me recently when part of my extended family, great grandmother, passed away, and she was at a Chartwell home. And we went last Saturday to the celebration of life. And I can tell you that was an eye opener for me, because all they did is talk about how great a home the Chartwell facility was in Scarborough. They talked about all the people that worked there and how kind they were, and how the grandma just loved living there. And it was such a relief in her latter days to be surrounded with the attention and love of the Chartwell community. And quite frankly, I just kind of choked up on that, because we really are providing a service to seniors that sometimes when they get involved in the business side of things, we forget about. But her living in a Chartwell home in Scarborough was just a great experience for her and the family. The eldest daughter to be feeling, you're talking about your parents, Neil. The eldest daughters are always the decision maker about whether or not a mom or dad goes into a retirement home, and they made a decision for mom to go into Chartwell, and they all said it was the best decision they could possibly make. She got 3 square meals a day, good meals. We have nursing staff who look after her administration of pills, very vibrant and active senior social activity programs, and housekeeping weekly. And the whole family was very, very ecstatic with the home, and that they all made the right decision. And she was there until the day she died. So at the celebration of life, I was really proud of the fact that I had started Chartwell, and to hear the impact that home had on that particular family was very moving for me.
Steve, obviously moving and important, and the words that you just said, of course, are so important, because it's the health and care and the love that we want our family members to get in their later years, of course, through their whole life. But we worry much more in the later years for ourselves, for our family, if they're still with us. So I congratulate you and Chartwell for that. I find, though, that you said a word that's touching me, and part of why I wanted to do this podcast today, Steve, is the word oversubscribed. I'm a boomer. I'm 70. We're starting to think about next steps, although not yet into a residence like that yet. But Steve, there seems to be a lot more people needing the facilities than we have the facilities. And I'm wondering, you must have seen a lot of changes over the years to this whole industry. And now the boomers are coming into this. They're going to require facilities. Tell me what you're thinking about this changing industry and where we should go with it.
Yeah. So that's a good question. And the industry got severely impacted by COVID. Okay.
Yes.
So what happened was that people stopped coming in for tours. So occupancies went down and construction for new sites stopped because of the higher interest rates, COVID, and just now that things are starting to pick up. What happened there is nobody building anything projects, and we have a lot of projects at various stages of development. But all the specialists, all the market analysts will tell you that there's a huge pent-up demand for senior housing because nobody was building anything. So that's why Chartwell is at the table with us on 4 projects, and they're eager to do it because there's no product out there. There's literally no product out there for them to buy and grow.
And I was wondering about that. Sorry to interrupt, but you're right. COVID had an effect. I did some research on that, and it seems like the market's starting to come back from that, as you said. But we hear all day long about the lack of land to build. Worse than that, the person services to build these facilities. I mean, it must be a challenge all the time being able to put these badly needed facilities up.
Yeah, there's no question about that, and it's expensive. You need about put 140 bed retirement home together. You need hard cash equity, at least 10 or 15 million. So it's not for the faint of heart, and so thank God there's companies like Chartwell and Sienna and some of the big boys out of the States who are buying up these new facilities, because you really need it. We as developers and private equity guys need to recycle our money.
Yes.
So we'll be able to take advantage of this. I call it, I've been saying for years that you talk about the baby boomers, it's a demographic hockey stick. And it's just beginning to start right now. And there's unbelievable demand for our product. And because of COVID, supply was severely impacted.
Mhm.
We're trying to catch up, but it takes a while for lenders to get satisfied. The big news that happened this week was the Bank of Canada rightly took 25 basis points off of the so CIBC and Royal Bank and all their economists are saying that interest rates are going to were to start coming down. Bank of Canada did 25 basis points this week, but we expect that 200 basis points will come down off of prime. That will make a lot of projects a lot more economic. And so we have projects that are on the sideline waiting for interest rates to come down. So that just exacerbates the problem, Neil, that, if people can't build because interest rates are too high, even now that COVID's over with, you still need to get the interest rates down to become economically feasible. And that's where we are in the industry right now.
Yes. And you're right. I was glad to see the lowering 25 basis points as a start, but we do have to get this real estate economy moving again. So I agree. This will be helpful because the requirements, the number of people who are going to need Chartwell and other facilities like that will never stop growing. This is a never-ending business, I think. Steve, would you agree?
I absolutely agree. And now maybe I could just take a minute and say that senior housing is just not a retirement home. We're involved in a number of phases so the treat of the week this year is seniors apartments. And so that's I always use this example. The eldest daughter is looking for a place for mom, and mom is saying, it's too soon, I don't want to live there and everything like that. But mom needs to live in community. There's no question about it. She needs to live in a community where her needs are looked after. So we have got a number of projects here in Ontario and in Alberta. We are offering a seniors apartment concept.
So talk to me about the seniors apartment. Can you break down what that is more, their services? What would that be?
So we have a facility in Edmonton, for example, that is about 188 suites. And we have a manager, we have two marketing people still in lease up. We were, just to give you an example, last month we did 12 leases in a month, which was a great rate. But we have a restaurant in there called Tutti Frutti, and the residents have a deal with the restaurant where they pay $300 or something like that, 350 to Tutti Frutti, and Tutti Frutti provides all their meals. So the mom or dad is in this apartment. It has stove and fridge and microwave and washer and dryer and dishwasher, etc. So it's a standalone apartment. But the eldest daughter gets satisfied that mom could always go down for lunch and for breakfast, lunch, or supper, and work off her $350 a month, and have dinner and community with the rest of the residents. We also have it's called Manchester Rose, which provides care for the facilities. So it's not on our payroll, but if mom wants her dog walked, or she wants to go to the doctor's office, or go to pick up something, or help with administration of her medication, or getting her bed made and stuff like that, she could buy that from Manchester Rose. So from our point of view, that particular product, we provide a maintenance guy, we have an activity person, and the manager, and the two marketing people, and an office manager. So there's not the infrastructures that you would have at a typical retirement home, where you would have, and that's more. So we like that, like the seniors apartments, and it's like we have two facilities in Alberta that are 100% full now: Three Robins Stony Plain and Three Robins Red Deer. And it's an interesting concept that we say to the residents, you get $200 off your rent if you come and live and volunteer and be part of our volunteer program. So if you're good at working in the wood shop, or you could call bingo, or you could be responsible for different outings, things like that. The residents volunteer, and what an incredible difference that has made.
Sure.
Because everybody's the whole place is a volunteer. We had an open house there, and there's people in the elevator, being the elevator operator up and down, and there's, if people want to come in and the manager's not there, and people want to come in, they could get a resident who will give the new resident tours. That's wonderful. And it's a real amazing community of volunteers and people who feel part of the community, which is a great concept.
And that whole idea of developing a community, the way that you just described it, is helpful to the person living there, helpful to the family, gives a person a reason to get up in the morning. It's terrific. But if God forbid they fall down and break their ankle, it's the same thing as if you're living somewhere else, you call 911 to get help. It's not that there's medical help in the facility. Am I correct with that?
Yeah, well, we would have Manchester Rose, which is the service operator, and they would come in there, and they would help with if mom had a fall and what to do. So there's professionals there, but they're not part of our payroll. But the beauty of these things is people, it's the whole concept of living in community, that the eldest daughter gets feeling very, very comfortable that mom is going to be looked at. So if mom is in her condo or her home, and she's not getting proper meals, she's forgetting her drugs she has to take, and the place is a mess. And now if she lives in one of our facilities and lives in community, it's an uplifting, she'd go down the hall and play bridge, whatever. So living in community for the eldest daughter is a great
Yeah.
thing.
Steve, I imagine that we could use facilities like that all over our country. I mean, you mentioned Alberta, but the need must be for everywhere.
Yeah. So we have a great facility in Esquimalt in Vancouver Island next to Victoria. And just to give you an idea how, so it's 11 stories. It's the best facility we've ever built. It's 11 stories. On the 11th floor is all the amenity areas. So if you want to go for lunch or dinner, you go up to the 11th floor because it's got magnificent views of Victoria, the ocean, the mountain, everything. So great. The next two floors down, 9 and 10, were sold as condos.
Hmm.
So residents could buy the condos, participate in all the services of the retirement home. And then the next floors down are independent living and which is for in the nobody in a retirement home, nobody's independent, right? Let's get that clear. People are, the eldest daughter feels that mom's got to live there because it's care driven.
Yeah.
And then we have a couple floors of assisted living, which is they're always full. So and that was a beautiful home because it was the site of an old Legion, Legion. Okay.
Oh,
And the Legion was broke on their, didn't have any money. So we cut a deal with the Legion where we bought the property. We provided the Legion with a beautiful facility that they're using, new furniture and everything like that. So the Legion is still in the building, and so it's a very active thing.
wow. Amazing. Steve, let me ask you if I can now. Let's move to assisted living, which is what I think a lot of people are thinking of when they move to seniors residences. Your company or not your companies in general, are we serving the public? Are we building assisted living? How's the state of the industry? What do you think we need coming in the next number of years?
Well, as I was trying to say before, is that there's a seniors apartments, and there's independent living, and then assisted living, and then the next thing is private pay, memory care, and then there's LTC.
Okay.
When I was at Chartwell, we were involved in long-term care, but that's not our focus these days. But because that's government funded, government licensed, and government regulated.
Ah, okay.
And that for entrepreneurs like me, that's too government. So and the governments are always struggling with the funding of these things to make them worthwhile for developers and for residents. We are heavily involved in Alberta, and their funding motto is called the DSLs, and their funding model that the Alberta government has is really antiquated and makes it almost impossible to build any new facilities
Wow.
under the current regiment. So if governments have got to be aligned on that better to make these facilities. So there are challenges in the regulated part of the business, but there's need for you said it,
Every level.
baby boom is coming. There's need for big demand for seniors apartments, big demand for independent living, and most independent living have a assisted living and memory care as part of it. So when
Okay.
mom comes in and her health goes down, she could move from the independent living into the assisted living, and for facilities, maybe she needs memory care. So eventually, so they stay there as long as they could afford it, and or they could go to long-term care, which is the other
So
thing.
the whole idea of affording is a big issue too for a lot of people. And I've often wondered, what do we do with all these folks who can't afford the pay to live facilities? Where do they go?
I always used to say on my road shows when I was at Chartwell, and your audience would appreciate this. So, where does the little old lady who worked at Kresge's, where's she going to go in her retirement, right? And it's a real challenge for our country because the little old lady from Kresge's can't go into private pay. Like our rents in private pay are are high, right? But yeah, are high. So you have to have a bit of a nest egg. You have to have your, the proceeds of your house sale, et cetera, like that. But that's a challenge for society of where do all the little old ladies who used to work at Kresge's, where are they gonna go? And it's a sad thing. Now, the good news is I'm 73 and I do get at the end of every month from the federal government about, I think it's $2,400 a month in old age pension. Now that'll get you going in any one of these retirement homes, but you still need more money from families or from your selling of your home, your pensions to afford that. So like the homes I just talked about in Esquimalt, I mean, you're talking about rents about $5,000 or $6,000 a month. So
Yeah, I have friends whose families have moved into some of the assisted living residences. They're paying
they're high,
$79,000 a month.
they're much higher, and memory care is much higher too. So
Wow. Well, I don't think that we're at the point where we just stack people out on the streets, but we are indeed seeing a lot more homeless. And you said before the government isn't perhaps standing up and doing what they need to do to provide these facilities or making it worthwhile for developers like yourself. And I don't believe that the government has to provide something for entrepreneurs other than the environment to want to grow and to build and to help people so that people are helped and entrepreneurs make money. And if
that's right.
that's not happening, then that is a real problem in this country.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. So it's 100% true. So
Wow. So, Stephen, I thank you for all of this. Let me ask you, being a real estate investor myself, and of course you are, for those who are inclined, can you invest in this kind of development nowadays? Like, are there good opportunities? Maybe tell us about something if you know.
yeah, so most of our projects are bring private equity people in on our deals, and they either come in as a secured on a second mortgage or preferred share position. And so we have from time to time offerings like that. What we're doing in Suske Capital right now is we're selling most of our facilities to because they're ready for sale and there wasn't really a market during COVID. And now that interest rates are going to start coming down, there's a market to buy. But to ask you a question, yes, if people want to go on suskecapital.com, we're always looking for investors to come in, and we have a section on our website that talks about that.
Very interesting. We had a speaker on a few weeks ago with a company that has an insurance type of policy now that you pay into now. And then if you need facilities, not so much facilities, but requirements as we get older, PSWs, help with a place to live, etc., that's what they provide. And it's really interesting. Somebody made a business out of being able to buy an insurance policy, not a life insurance policy, but a policy to be able to afford things that you've been talking about and leave it to entrepreneurs to find the way. And I found that very, very interesting. Steve, I just want to say that we could talk for hours and do 20 shows about the need that's out there and the need, whether it's being filled or not, and how we can fill it. And that's great. But I want to ask you on a personal level, you must have some really terrific stories or experiences that have been very rewarding to you. Tell us about some of the things that have come across your life that have made a difference.
In senior housing, I could write a book about it, mostly about bad partners that I got involved with. And it's an amazing business to be in, and I can't think of anything right now, but I
But
mean,
you're touching the lives of people every day, is what you're telling me.
oh yeah, no, that's a big thing. And Suske Cap was a family business, so all my kids are involved in this and my stepkids. And so we believe that, as you said, Neil, it's the demographic growth, or what I call the demographic hockey stick, this is the business to be in. We just got to get interest rates down. We're through COVID, and then I think the world is our oyster. So that's, but I
Well,
could tell you stories about some of the operators out there. So, and that's why it's so good to have firms like Chartwell and Sienna, some of the bigger guys who really care about residents, and it's not a financial ploy. It's you're really looking after people, mums and dads, hopefully beyond their expectations, and that's what always been my commitment. And going back to the very original, having a BA in philosophy and an MBA is a perfect thing to get involved in. To senior housing is perfect because you feel as if you are giving back to society, and that celebration of life I talked about before. Boy, was I ever delighted to, that the impact of that Chartwell home had on the family was, I had forgotten about. So it was very positive.
that's good. And I have to say, just as we had to wrap up, Steve, my takeaway from this is that the entrepreneurs and the people who are building these facilities and providing them, they're going to need a lot more help from whatever to continue to build them. The environment's going to have to change. The government's going to have to do their part for the long-term facilities. And people at a young age have to start planning for where they're going to end up, maybe more now than ever before. But hopefully the industry will be able to provide what people need. As I said, I've been involved in helping an elderly mom and my mother-in-law, great people still living on their own. But if they want to go into these facilities, there could be a waiting line, and which is a hard thing when you're 91 and 93. And that's a real commentary about big
Well,
change.
as I say, if once mom moves in, she's getting 3 square meals a day, she's getting her housekeeping, she's getting an activist program, social activities, and she's taking her pills every day. The nurses make sure they take their pills, and they just become happier because they're living in community. You
Yes.
know, they look forward to going down to the dining room for breakfast, lunch, and supper, and it's great. And the beautiful thing of that, the eldest daughter is relieved that
I think
uh,
that's the point, isn't it, Steve? Is that the children of our very elderly are also baby boomers and seniors themselves, ourselves. So that peace of mind is huge. I think what you're talking about is peace of mind,
that's right.
and it doesn't just extend to the person who moves in, it affects the whole family.
And the incredible thing, Neo, is I watched the D-Day celebrations yesterday with Trudeau and Biden, and the meeting with like some of those guys were 100, 103, 105
Yeah.
years old. Like people are living longer, right?
Yes.
One of the great things about we're in the golden age of life, when the average life expectancy has gone from 45 years old to 71 now. It's getting longer and longer all the time.
Yeah.
It
Which,
went down. It went down in the States, but in Canada, we're all living longer. Thank God, touch wood,
yeah.
right? But there's going to be a huge demand for facilities that are care driven, could look after your mom and dad.
Yes, and actually it's changing because we're living longer. The societal changes are astronomical right now, and we have to get to it now, and we have to plan for quite a bit farther into the lifespan of people.
Right.
It's remarkable. Steve, I want to thank you so much for coming on today. I wanted to start this discussion on your gray matters because we are your gray matters, but planning where to go. And if you're an entrepreneur looking into maybe a place to invest, there's a lot of terrific parts to where we are in the industry, but obviously we have a long way to go and a lot of planning and a lot of changing of thinking in many areas to make sure that we're taking care of our elderly. So Steve Suske, you're a pleasure. I'm glad to have you on the show. Steve, if somebody wants to get a hold of you, how should they do it? Perhaps tell us your website and we'll post it up for you.
Okay, so I'm happy to take anybody's calls, but my cell number is 647-407-7797. And my email is ssuske@suskecapital.com. So
Terrific. Well, Steve, keep going. I thank you, and I hope I'll catch up with you soon and we can grab some lunch together.
looking forward to that, Neil. Thanks.
And I thank you very much. Take care, Steve. Hey, everybody. Thanks very much for watching today. We appreciate it. Please subscribe to our podcast. It really helps us grow and it makes us stronger, and we appreciate you doing it.